Hello and good day to all of you, and especially to Dr. Tan. Today I would like to talk my term paper. The title is Revitalizing Traditional Malay Architecture and Aesthetic Appreciation of Malay House in Kelantan. This is an example for replica house. This term paper refers to the how to revitalizing traditional Malay architecture. I have applied an aesthetic appreciation of Malay house in Kelantan. As a Malaysia community, we must know about Malay architecture because the architecture have more value. The Malay architecture have a aesthetic value such as beauty, and it is good for community to know and study about it. Many kinds of traditional architecture values increasingly forgotten today's society. In this era globalization, this topic important to study because traditional Malay architecture getting a low globalization. This topic important to study because traditional Malay architecture getting a low up by time and lack of intention. This topic can give appreciation and awareness. Therefore, the readers can return the assess all the beauty inherent in traditional Malay architecture, especially aesthetic appreciation of Malay house in Kelantan. Through this topic, the readers can tell that every traditional Malay house can bring a variety of meanings and aesthetic values. Aesthetic is a branch philosophy dealing with the nature of beauty, art, and taste, and with the creation and appreciation of beauty. It is more scientifically defined as the study of sensory or sensory emotional values, sometimes called judgment of sentiments and taste. More broadly, scholars in the field define aesthetic as critical reflection on art, culture, and nature. Aesthetic appreciation is the supreme love for oneself. It's the feeling of you and better than everyone else, and you make sure they know it. Maintenance mean is one process study the place or building for purpose maintain of design, culture, and nature state. Maintain the architecture heritage. This house also involve the maintenance, retention, preservation, reconstruction, and renovation. Traditional house is the house that still retains the characteristic of Asian design community. Most of traditional house construct of wood. It is also built by carpenter using traditional skill, like a house using the wedge without nails. Such house usually found in the village, but there is also the home of the restored and a become museum or exhibition to the public. Traditional house construct using the result of environmental such as meranti wood, nyatuh, and so on. How to revitalization of architecture house. First, build the house replica. In my opinion, for revitalizing traditional Malay architecture, we can suggest to government for building a replica at any of history museum, especially for traditional Malay house in Kelantan. With the replica, the teenagers now will recognize the features found in this traditional home. Besides that, we can build a replica at area of conspicuous, such as shopping area or school. Now we see a lot of shopping centers. Many activity about this project can held at here. Here we can identify with the teenager concerned about the environment or not. At the replica is required to have information so that they can identify part to understand. We also need to put artist aesthetic so that they can appreciate. In addition, we also can introduce about Malay architecture for Second, competition. How to revitalize the traditional Malay house is also can be done through competition. The school can make design week. Here we can attract students to their field. In this competition, we need to put a condition so that students feel challenged and more confident. They will find information about the traditional house. Their information can be obtained from their parents or internet. Indirectly, they will remember about this. Third, tourist attraction. Government can take steps tourist attraction as originally revitalized traditional Malay house. The government may direct the hotels or the managed homestay to provide home. They can provide traditional Malay house. The homestay or the chalet can apply the characteristic of traditional Malay house. By the way, the tourists can feel and see by own about traditional. Found in traditional Malay house, indirectly they will tell their friends. This is not only get introduced traditional house to tourists. This method will not only revitalize but it is also able to benefit for government and the owner chalet can get the profit. Furthermore, how to revitalize traditional Malay house can made through the exhibition. Through the exhibition also, particular the need to create frameworks, small or house plan. Every information which was provided must be detailed. Within the public or the community can learn more. With the exhibition also, multiracial society is also able to identify the characteristic of the traditional house. Indirectly, they also get ideas for building their house. Fifth, documentary about the traditional Malay house. This step can be taken to preserve the traditional house. We can ask or make a requirement of the experts to provide documentary. Here, people can learn how the construction and features available in the home. By knowing this information, people can appreciate the aesthetic values found in an abundant traditional house. From there, indirectly given rise to state their interest to have house with carp. In Kelantan, there are many traditional houses with and still owned by some family. It's become a hereditary family. Next, and the last one, measure to revitalize. The traditional Malay house can also be done by buying a house. For those who can afford they can buy a house with good carvings. Carving a traditional house built on the ideas of the ancient society that is expert in this field. Society can afford this house is the spirit of people to maintain the properties that are in the house. They can evaluate the types of work of art which they are interested. They about the house can be graphed on built can apply the traditional elements. Furthermore, aesthetic values can be maintained and it would last until the end. Characteristic of traditional Malay house in Kelantan. They are characteristic of the Malay house as a roof, porch, a house mother, or also known as the main space, rooms, carvings, and the kitchens. All state in Malaysia, a traditional Malay house compares of a fixed roof, but has changed pyramid form or called the roof of the Netherlands after arrival of the colonists. Now we see the conclusion. I study the traditional Malay house in Kelantan is intended to provide knowledge. In conclusion, we must know about traditional Malay architecture. With the knowledge, we can apply of aesthetic values at every house to be built. As we know it, many traditional Malay house in our country, we can apply the traditional Malay architecture for our house or every building in Malaysia. In our country, wherever we go, we can see different types of architecture which has its own value. This different of house also produce a different architecture. People nowadays show appreciate what they have and what they will have. That's all for my term paper and thank you.